Hey, hello, and here we are for another edition of Welcome to the Jungle with Tim Daniel. I am Seth Shaner. Tim, we saw another win yesterday. That was a big deal. Bengals over Titans 37-27.
Still alive. Somehow, some way, still alive.
Well, as we do on the Red Show, and I guess I do this kind of retroactively, I'd like to do a vibes check, but really based on the fact that the vibes at the time of the game, because there was some really wild stuff we'll get into that happened in that game. Um, but my nervous level wasn't very high, and I think most of that's because of the minuscule chances that this Bengals team actually has to make the playoffs. Where were your vibes as you watched? Did you get nervous or worried or any of that?
No, as a matter of fact, I missed the first quarter because
Uh,
we were taking my daughter to see Santa. So that's where my vibes were at. So I turned it off after the Burrow interception. The Titans drive down and score a touchdown. I was like, all right, whatever. And then I got back in the second quarter just as Will Levis started being Will Levis. And so I was
yeah.
like, all right, I'll watch this. This is at least entertaining how much of a mess it is. And obviously, win for the good guys.
Well, and I guess we were in a similar situation actually because we were at Santa brunch, and then my son and my older son, had the game on our phone, each of us, and then we drove to my sister-in-law's house, so we had to listen to part of that game. But my son's still in the back seat with with the video, kind of calling out, "Hey, Burrow had it for 10 seconds there on that touchdown pass." That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
You mentioned the interception. It was a very uneven day, I think, for Joe Burrow. 26 to 37, 271 yards, 3 TDs. He's already set the franchise record for touchdowns in a season. He did throw 2 picks, the first of which was that really low pass that I don't know. It's the type of pass I don't really take away from him. I don't blame him too much on. So
Yeah.
whatever. He did fumble again though, which again a result of not enough protection, this and that. But an uneven game, yet it would have been like a huge game for someone, say Will Levis, if he were to have that type of game. Will Levis went 8 of 12 for 89 yards and 3 picks. So
And
yeah,
the first quarter looked like he was about to go crazy. I mean, he hits Tyler Boyd on that 3rd and 9, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to have a day. And I was like, this typical Bengals defense. And all of a sudden he
yeah,
was like, no, guys, don't worry. I'll take care of you.
4 incompletions on the day, 3 of them to the bad guys in his case. So yeah, Chase Brown, another really good day, 25 carries, 97 yards, throwing his 16 yards receiving, and then he goes over 100 yards yet again. Jamar Chase, I have him in fantasy. I was really a little bothered because he did not get in the end zone. 9 catches, 94 yards, PPR league. I was feeling pretty good about that, but we just
What,
needed
18 points? Yeah.
one more to get over the top, and he didn't get that. But T. Higgins did go into the end zone, as
What a
did Chase
throw.
Brown. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow's arm has been questioned in the past,
Which is so
but
dumb. Yeah.
it is. The only reason here's the problem though. If you ever listen to, and I haven't really this season because they kind of shook up the order of who does the game, who does the show, the Athletic Football Podcast. I listened to that a lot last year and the year before, and when they do their the NFL rankings of top quarterbacks or tiers or whatever, like the lack of love for Joe stems from, well, he doesn't have Josh Allen's arm. I'm like, well, okay.
That's
But
fine.
until this year, Josh Allen would always make the fatal mistake. So far this year, he really hasn't been. Josh Allen was amazing yesterday, by the way, and
Yeah, he was very good.
that's why I lost my fantasy game. Basically,
So was Jalen Hurts. Thanks a lot for that one, Jalen.
so no, and my son and I talked. Josh Allen rolled to the right, and he just stands there on the sideline and just waits. And he knows he's going to get hit, but he doesn't care because he's bigger than Ben Roethlisberger. And he
A
whips
lot
a
more
pass
likable,
because
too.
somebody came across the middle just in time, right? And because even though he's falling backwards and all that, he still has that arm strength. It's better arm than Joe Burrow. There's no question. But I am still, and even more now, of a camp of give me Joe Burrow if I'm starting a team. And I think even though he was a little uneven yesterday, he showed kind of why in some of those moments.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Seth. And I actually put this in our Slack chat yesterday. So the fourth quarter, when they're trying to ice the game away, he has that 3rd and long. He kind of scrambles and finds T, just kind of tucks a pass in the T to where he gets a couple extra yards, getting the first down. And it's just Burrow magic, man. I think the thing, like Burrow's kind of said in the past too, that when people bring up how many times he gets sacked, and he's like, sometimes it's me. He's like, sometimes I'm trying to extend the play, and you take that risk because you get moments like that, right? And obviously the long touchdown he had to Chase Brown. You remember that touchdown against the Niners, the Super Bowl year, where like he found Chase in the back of the end zone, and I think it felt like he had the ball for about 30 seconds, but it was probably about 7. But things that he does that you haven't really seen in a long time. I don't want to compare him to like the Joe Montanas because that's a little crazy, but similar to what Montana used to do in that kind of circumstance.
Well, yeah, and Troy Aikman last week just gushing about him. He said it on the Monday Night Football broadcast, but then his quote on a radio show where he said he might be his favorite player of all time. And this is a Hall of Famer in Troy Aikman. And I'm not saying Troy Aikman was Joe Montana or even John Elway or somebody like that, but for a Hall of Famer to say that about another quarterback, I mean, that says so much. And it's a reason why we like him so much. Let me do this. We're going to go through kind of drive by drive, and we're not going to bog people down. I'm just going to quick hitters, because there were so many turnovers in this game. All right, so Tennessee gets a touchdown in the first quarter to start the scoring. That was off the Burrow interception. But here it is: Tennessee touchdown, Bengals touchdown. Tennessee touchdown, Bengals fumble. Tennessee fumble. Bengals touchdown. Tennessee interception, Bengals touchdown, Tennessee interception, Bengals field goal into the half. Which that's kind of funny because of all these.
Okay, that stopped at the 2.
Yeah,
yeah.
The first drive for the Bengals was the interception. So I started with Tennessee's touchdown. All right, second quarter.
In second half.
Second half. Tennessee punt, Bengals interception, Tennessee interception touchdown. Tennessee fumble. Tennessee interception, Bengals punt, Tennessee touchdown, Bengals touchdown, Tennessee touchdown. And in there, of course, you had the battle trying to transfer arms so he can chuck the ball into the wall there behind the end zone. I guess that's what he was doing, and fumbling before the 1 yard line. Like, you just can't understand it. It would have been his first NFL touchdown. He's supposedly the cerebral. Supposedly, like last year, the thing keeping him from getting on the field was he just wasn't as athletic as some of the other guys, or maybe he wasn't, but he was going to be smart. He's going to be the type of guy that's going to learn his role. And he's kind of done that because he's supplanted Von Bell as this season's gone on. But that's not a smart play, Tim.
Nope. That is absolutely not. That is the NFL equivalent of J.R. Smith.
Well, so set the stage. We were at my sister-in-law's for my nephew's graduation party. Congratulations. He graduated from Baldwin Wallace. So a great job out of him. Played some football there. But we're there, and it's kind of an open floor plan, like family room into the kitchen. And so we don't even have the sound up because there's so many people just milling around talking. But I'm sitting and watching the Bengals. I want to take it all in. And there's and it's not even on our side of the family. It's on my wife's sister. It's her husband's side of the family. So my brother-in-law's side of the family. And I think it was his aunt who was there, and she's over there, and she's a Browns fan, apparently. They're from Northern Ohio. But all I can remember out of that game is the thing that'll stick with me is this lady. She just stands back there and they got another interception. They did it again. I mean, over and over and over. And it would have been annoying, except it was true. It was like, this is insane. And then they put in Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph actually did better, which is a little worrisome, although the Bengals probably changed their defense up quite a bit by then.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this. Mason Rudolph didn't feel like he played more than like 4 or 5 series, maybe 4. He was 21 of 26 passing.
Yeah.
They obviously eschewed the run game completely, and the Bengals were just happy to have them take chunk yardage and things like that. But he did throw an interception, so that was 4 interceptions on the day.
Oh, yeah, Fig Newton got a pick. That's right.
Yeah, so, yeah, a lot of firsts as well as our buddy Sam Hubbard.
Yep.
Catches a touchdown pass, his first offensive touchdown. And you had the stat last night. It was actually interesting. It's the first receiving touchdown by a defensive player in Bengals history.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he hurt his knee on the play.
And that's probably his last Bengals moment of all time.
It could have been the last play of his career with the Bengals and maybe his career overall. But obviously, you pointed out on last night's Late Night Reds show that, those of us who are Buckeyes fans have fond memories of Hubbard. And And the cool thing is Joe and Sam were really good friends because
Yeah.
they came in around the same time to Ohio State. And to see Joe run and get the ball for him and have it for him, and then what Joe says matters. And when Joe was in the Joe Burrow was in the press conference and really gushed over Sam, that says a lot because, and that's the reason. We were talking last night on the Late Night Red show. Stephen Offenbaker talked about you need the leader, you need the guy to come in, and of course you want the guy who's a leader to also be maybe your best player or one of your best players.
Yeah.
But there's also room for the guy that still doesn't have it completely, and maybe that was Scott Rowland by the end of 2013, I guess. But you want that guy who comes in and says, you know what, he doesn't have it anymore completely, but the reason he's still here is what he brings besides that. And I think that's Sam Hubbard to a T.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're definitely at the point now where you can feel more comfortable with Miles Murphy getting more snaps. And realistically, I haven't looked at the PFF numbers, but I thought Miles Murphy's looked pretty good when he's been on the field. I don't have anything that shows back that up. This is my uncommon X and O knowledge. So I do think we're at that point, right? I mean, and it happens in every sport, like you mentioned. So
Well, it already happened with Von Bell.
yeah,
He brought Von Bell back because he was a leader, and he was one of the reasons that the team was so good on defense in the Super Bowl year, and yet he's just not physically as good anymore.
yeah, you can make the case until about 4 years ago that AJ Green's the best Bengals wide receiver in franchise history. And, by the time that Joe Burrow and T. Higgins come in, you can tell he's not AJ Green anymore. And that breaks my heart because he's probably my favorite Bengal ever. But also, it kind of goes in, and T and Joe both talk about how big it was to have AJ that year, their rookie year. And even though he wasn't Adriel Jeremiah catching Hail Marys anymore, he was still, the guy who's been there, done that. So.
Well, and another point to make about yesterday is Tyler Boyd played for Tennessee. You mentioned the good catch he had. That was only his second big play reception of the season, which is a little upsetting for him. But also we saw kind of again at the tail end of last year, and he had a drop in one of the games as well that just killed them against the Texans. But he was that type of guy apparently for Jamar and T, as was AJ the year before. But Tyler set an ultimate example, and AJ did for Tyler, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that works. That's what's also amazing about AJ is AJ came in the year after Chad Johnson was gone,
right?
And TJ was gone, I believe, and
T.O. left. Yeah.
Well, T.O. was never going to be a good example leader,
right?
No matter how good he was on the field. So that's what makes AJ pretty special is he was ready to play right away without really that leader in the room, so to speak. But no, they talked about then Chido Awuzie also plays for the Titans. In his time here, especially I feel terrible he got hurt last year, but I really grew to like him. He might have been my favorite defensive player.
He was so good before he hurt his ACL in that Browns Monday night game on Halloween. Like he was really good. Yeah.
So certainly I have nothing but well wishes for him.
Me too.
In fact, he was funny because Jermaine Pratt kind of clapped back at the haters. So shall we say on Twitter last night, and it was like he admitted to not having a good game yesterday, but he retweeted a tweet where I think Jay Morrison or somebody said that he had set his career high in tackles in the game. And he's like, I had a bad game today. I get it, but I'm going to be back. And Cheeto basically said, hey, get off Twitter, dude. It was a friendly, it was more of like a, hey, let me
just enjoy the day. You got the win.
Yeah, there, man. So Cheeto's still kind of helping. That was interesting too to watch Brian Callahan coach against the Bengals.
Yeah.
If it wasn't the Bengals, I would have felt for him some because you just see that he doesn't have the tools.
Right.
He certainly doesn't have. I know they coached in 2019 without Burrow, certainly. So they coached 1 year without the tools. But Andy Dalton was better than, Andy Dalton was better than what Will Levis is bringing to the field. So you feel for him a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to get any better because the quarterback draft doesn't look that great.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you think if you're Brian Callahan and this, like you said, this is not a very good quarterback draft by any means. So, you can get a lot. I mean, after Shador, after Cam Ward, there's a decent drop off. Do you think this is a situation where maybe in the offseason he calls Duke and says like, hey, can we make a deal for Browning?
Maybe. Although Browning, I don't know how long-term an answer Browning is.
Sure.
I think he's more of a long-term answer than what they have currently, probably.
Yeah.
But you're not putting. I don't know. Let me think about this. Like, okay, look at Ohio State's roster this year. They bring in Will Howard, but they have talent everywhere.
Yeah.
For the most part, game plan notwithstanding against Michigan, for the most part, it worked. Okay, the maybe fifth round draft pick quarterback on a stud filled roster.
Riley Leonard. Yeah, pretty similar.
Right. So all the receivers, the running backs, people made up for the fact that you don't have CJ Stroud or Justin Fields. If you look at the NFL level, the Titans don't have any of those skill
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
So I would really be worried about that if I was them. And the other problem is Shadur Sanders, he may be the best quarterback, but there's going to be a weird thing with Dion. And we're going to have to wait till basically February, March to see if is Dion really, is he going to go to the NFL and are they going to fix it so that he can have the pick he wants to pick his son? And then are they going to do what they want to do there? So that's going to be weird. And I watched enough.
Wait, you're saying there's nepotism outside the NBA?
Well, I don't. Well, yes, because Dave Shula worked in the NFL, but
Brian Callahan and Bill Callahan on the same coaching staff. Yeah.
Well, I wish Bill Callahan would have been on the Bengals staff from the start.
No kidding.
When they got there. That was actually when I heard Brian Callahan was getting hired. I was like happy because I thought that meant his dad was coming, but he stayed in Cleveland. But no, so and I watched enough Cam Ward at Washington State that I don't think he's a sure thing. You know, frankly, these two quarterbacks that we've all heard and are listing as the two guys, like they might be fourth or fifth quarterbacks taken in some years.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So we'll have to see, but that'll be interesting. But this is a Bengals show, so we should probably get back on topic with the Bengals. So they have a chance. They get to play Denver, so they could knock Denver off.
That's the game, right?
That's the game. Although I think the game could come down to the Steelers game.
Yeah,
because say they beat the Browns right at home, which hopefully they do.
Yeah,
and say they do beat Denver. Denver's unraveling a little bit here. You almost, as a fan, in some ways, wish either they won't be in contention by then because I don't want that team, and I know you don't want that team from Pittsburgh to be the reason the Bengals don't make the playoffs. But at the same time, it's kind of doable. But what is it? The Broncos still need to lose twice more total?
I think so. Yeah,
the Dolphins and the Colts only need to lose one more.
Yeah, but the Colts' last three games are the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Giants.
Yeah. So, although I think the Jags, they sneak up and get the Colts every once in a while.
They do. Yeah, they do. Hopefully Trevor Lawrence is back by one of those games and gives them a spark.
But it's just obviously you're paying for what you did earlier in the season, and that's where the Bengals are because you win the Patriots game, you win the Commanders game.
Yeah, you win
either
one of those Ravens games.
You're the Chiefs,
we're talking 10-4 at that point.
4th and 17 or 4th, whatever it was, and we get oh man. So yeah, we're talking win only one of those games, and it's different. Win two of them, which it was obviously easy to do if they would have just been focused or whatever the reason is that they didn't. So, but it's going to come down to that. And I found it interesting. Albert Breer was on with Dan Horde this week, and Breer's a national guy, but I do find that he's a lot like other national guys who kind of find the guys that they like to talk to. And certainly he loves Burrow.
Yeah.
But he was big on telling Browning's story last year too. So my guess is he has a good in with Zach or with Duke or somebody with the Bengals where they pick up the phone every time he calls. But he was on with Dan and he talked about the fact that, hey, next year they're going to be right up there. And, you know, that's presupposing a lot as far as fixing the defense and whatnot. So I'm happy to hear, like, when I was like a teenager or a college student, having a national guy say something nice about the
right.
Bengals,
yeah.
I would have
even
been
me
gushing. But at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, we'll see. Because we know the warts. We know them better than anybody. And
For
that
sure.
defense needs completely, if not overhauled, completely reimagined.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that really kind of jumped out to it as well is as they're in this competition, as they're in this close race, I mean, they're basically in the playoffs now, right? It's You want to have a shot, you have to win every game you can. I mean, you have to win every game. There's no losses you can take here. You can't be 8-9 in the AFC. But the NFL definitely wants Burrow and Chase in the playoffs, right? They want that. Yeah, they want that hot commodity, that duo. I'm not saying that the refs are going to fix games by any means.
No, but you say that, but then I've seen Joe Burrow's face mask grabbed so many times.
I didn't say the officials want Joe Burrow in the playoffs. I
Yeah,
said
but
the NFL.
the NFL signs their checks, and I just can't believe. We talked last week. He's a star. He should get some calls. That's how I feel about it, because
Yeah.
I see other stars get calls. But even just any quarterback, every official's eyes are on that area. He's got the ball. He's the quarterback.
Right. Yeah. He dictates
And
the pace of the game.
I know I didn't get to watch Hard Knocks yet. We talked about maybe talking about that at some point. But Zach Taylor saw the face mask through all the mass of humanity he was looking through from the sideline.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I heard what he said. I didn't hear him say it. So I can't completely even quote it, but it's basically like, you're all looking at him, his helmet's sideways.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And that's where I don't think anything's fixed, but these Chiefs, the Chiefs somehow, they come up smelling like roses all the time, and we don't get that call, and it's just bothersome. Let's run down. So Cleveland at Cincinnati this Sunday at 1:00 on Fox. Bengals are 7-point favorites. Home game, you should beat them. Jameis Winston got benched yesterday.
I was about to say, is it going to be DTR pitch starting?
So that's interesting. Denver's 9-5. That's Sunday, December 29th. Time is yet to be announced. It's a flex game that could be on the 28th also. So that's interesting. Yeah. If the Bengals win, and if Denver still is kind of where they are, they're 9-5 on the season. They're kind of in the catbird seat for that last spot. So that game's going to mean something. But again, it could come down to Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. It's right now Sunday, January 5th, but it could be the 4th, and there's no time yet established. So I guess you want a chance. The Bengals have a chance, but it's like we said before, since Joe Burrow stepped in that stadium as a Bengals player, every game Joe Burrow's playing is worth watching.
Yep.
So I guess we don't have to sell anybody on that, but I know the minuscule percentages. I don't know how high it went up. It was, I believe, 2-point-something% going into yesterday.
Let me pull up NFL.com real quick because
to make the playoffs. And, I guess there is the numbers and then there's your heart. So you're going to tell me right now, what is it?
And I'm pulling it up as we speak. I do want to make mention real quick while I'm doing this, so that way we don't have bad radio. Did you see who came out to be the captains yesterday?
Again, yes.
And
so Joe and Jamar and T. And the funny thing is, the first time people kind of thought, well, maybe they don't have too many games left. It's a primetime game. They won't be together much longer. And then Joe talks about wanting them to be together. T switches representation.
Do
a package deal with him, Jamar, using the same agent now. I told my youngest son, I told the story last night, I think on Late Night Reds. Yeah. Unless it was off the air. My son loves T. Higgins. He's now 9. Yeah. He loved him from the start. And we didn't buy the new number 5 jersey because I thought, he's leaving.
Yeah, he might not be here. Yeah.
I told my son on the way to school today, if T. Higgins signs a long-term deal back with the Bengals, right then I'm buying you a jersey. And he seemed very happy by that. Go ahead.
All right. So the Bengals currently have a 6% chance to get into the playoffs.
It's doubled.
Yeah. Which also the Miami Dolphins also have a 6% chance. The Indianapolis Colts have a 10% chance. They're in the 8th spot.
Mm-hmm.
But right now the 7th spot is the LA Chargers, who currently have an 88% chance, which we talked about games earlier in the year, Seth.
Mm-hmm.
What if you win that one? What if you pull off the comeback and you hold the game off?
Yeah,
don't let J.K. Dobbins. Yeah.
Or if J.K. gets hurt a week earlier or whatever. But yeah. But okay, 6% chance. That's almost nothing.
Yeah.
If you didn't look that up yet, maybe we should have done it that way. What in your heart do you believe is their chance?
3.
Yeah, so it's lower. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's just that I hate to say this because we know how I feel, and I've been very open and honest. In a have-to-win game against the Steelers, history's not been on the Bengals side. Yeah.
The only thing there would be, but the problem is Justin Fields would probably just start, because I was thinking if they
That's
already
true.
if they have the division locked up, and if they already knew, hey, we're not going to beat the Chiefs or the Bills for the 1 or 2 seed, we're settled in at the 3 seed with the division lead. Who would they play?
The Ravens.
No. I'm saying what
Ah,
players would they play? What players would the
sure.
Steelers play in that instance? Now, again, Justin Fields might carve them up running the ball,
Yeah.
so that would be unfortunate, and it's one reason why I hate it when Buckeyes go to the Steelers.
Yeah.
But
I get it. When Stephon Tuitt broke Andy Dalton's thumb, I was very, very upset. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I guess you get me to that day, and while the Steelers seem to have, we talk about the Cardinals or even lately the Brewers in baseball and in the NL Central, the Steelers have that ability to just somehow, hey, we're going to rework this and be better than
Yeah.
you. That's upsetting, obviously. Get me to that day with a chance, and I'll be excited.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, so I guess that's where it is. I guess you said 3%. We'll get out of here soon. What about, warts and all, line those teams up? Do you think the Bengals are the better team
Then
than? Okay, let's go like Colts. Yes.
Yes.
Dolphins, the way, especially
Yes.
where they're playing. Yes. Especially if the Dolphins have to go north at all. Broncos, are the Bengals a better team?
I will take the Bengals strictly because 9, 1, and 5 are on our side.
Yeah. So the Broncos, remember a few years ago, they had that incredible defense.
Yeah.
Before they moved on to Peyton as their coach. And I was actually surprised they made the change because they were so good on defense that if you just get a decent offense, you would have been.
Yeah.
And their defense still is probably what wins them games, although Bo Nix has looked pretty good. But I think I would. Chargers, we've already seen it on the field. It was out there. But I think especially if J.K. Dobbins were healthy, I'd probably say evidence shows me the Chargers are a better team
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I agree.
And again, that goes to defense.
Mhm.
None of this that we're talking about as we prepare to end this show is the offense's fault. Now that they've made some weird mistakes
Yeah.
at key times, but the offense has done its job completely. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Devin Cochran started yesterday, and they found a way to win. So
yeah, the false start penalties were very upsetting in that game, and in a stadium that was not a good environment. Like it
yeah.
wasn't as if it was the Chiefs or the Seahawks crowd.
What was the stat? It was a first game since at least 2000 with 10 turnovers and 25 penalties in an NFL game.
My goodness. So again, it wasn't really that exciting a game. It was a strange game. A lot of weird things happened, but the Bengals come out with the win. And I guess your final thoughts, Tim.
Bring on the Brownies. Whoever's playing quarterback, let's get the W. Paycor has not been friendly to the Bengals this year, so
No.
it's time to be a little friendlier.
All right. Well, hey, we'll be back with you next week, win or lose, and we're gonna continue on through the season. And this situation with what day games fall and things like that, I think we'll probably aim for Mondays.
Yep.
Even if they play Saturday, we'll just aim for Monday and get that out there for you around 12 or 1 p.m. each week. So thanks so much for continuing to tune in. We're excited about these Bengals, even if they don't make the playoffs. Joe's still there, and hopefully he's got a couple all-pro receivers with him as well. For Tim Daniel, I'm Seth Shaner on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Thanks for tuning in to Welcome to the Jungle.
Who dey?